What's up, everybody? Welcome back. We're here for another Fall Obsession podcast. My name is Sam Thrash. I'm your show host over here. Thanks for tuning in. This week, got another podcast host joining me, East Coast Trev from the Outdoor Drive podcast. He is coming on the show to talk hunting, to talk podcasting, to talk life in general. This is an awesome conversation, and you guys may remember episode 205 with Steve or Madman Mardick. He's also a co-host of the Outdoor Drive podcast. These two guys make a whole in that podcasting room and everything over there. Have some awesome content going on over there. Originally they invited me on their show to start things off, and I wanted to return the favor and get those two guys on ours, ideally together. But as we talk about in this episode, as we talked about with Steve, recording schedules, personal schedules, trying to get three guys all to line up, it wasn't working out too good. So we ended up having them on the show separately on our end, and it worked out really good. We got to dive deep into some unique perspectives with both of them, see a little bit behind the curtain of the Outdoor Drive podcast, and then just talk hunting in the outdoors with both these guys. And this conversation with Trev is really awesome. I really enjoyed it. I love connecting with other like-minded hunters and outdoorsmen in the hunting and outdoor space. It's an awesome community that we have here, an awesome brotherhood, and that really shows in this podcast, I think. So I hope you guys sense that as well. Before we get to the meat of the episode, though, got to hit a few things with our partners, our podcast sponsors, the folks that keep the wheels rolling over here on their end. First one being Hoot Camo. This is my second year wearing Hoot Camo. I've worn on several different hunts, most recently my Idaho elk hunt. Can't say enough about the gear. It's reliable, it's durable, the pattern is versatile. It works in a ton of different environments. It is what I would consider a high quality set of camo. They make high quality gear and products. And the best part about it is it's at a price point that's realistic for the blue collar hunter if you're looking to get into a good set of camo. So go check out Hoot and everything they have. They got more than just hunting gear. They got fishing gear, everyday lifestyle wear, all sorts of stuff. So see what you like, shop around, pick you up something. And if you use the code FallObsession15 at checkout, that will save you guys some money. Hoot Camo and hootcamo.com. News on Safaris is a Fall Obsession podcast partner. We have some folks on our team and outside of our organization that we know that have hunted with News On and have had a great experience. So if you guys are looking to book that big African adventure that you've been saving up for, want to get hooked up with a good safari over there, then you need to book with News On. The best part about it is News On is offering Fall Obsession podcast listeners a discount and some savings if you book with them and simply tell them that Fall Obsession sent you. That's literally all you got to do. And what you receive is a $500 trophy credit, free lodging, food, and drinks. Your professional hunter, skinner, and tracker fees are all covered. Your basic trophy prep is taken care of. All of that comes out to a $2,250 value per person, and that's valid for up to 4 people in your hunting party. Do the quick math on that. You could be saving $9,000 on an already expensive trip, no matter how you look at it or who you book with. So save that money, book with News On, let them know that Fall Obsession sent you. You can contact Tim over there. His phone number is 303-946-9441. Again, that's Tim, and he will get you set up with News On Safaris. Trophy Edits is a Fall Obsession podcast partner. If you guys have had that photo recently, a memorable moment, a memorable hunt, you're looking forward to seeing the picture from it, and you take a look and it just doesn't do the moment justice. Maybe it was too dark, maybe it was blurry, a little out of focus, something wasn't right, whatever it might be. Well, what Trophy Edits does is they clean all that up and make the most out of your photo and your memory to best capture the moment for you. They do a ton of different projects at different scales for you guys. You can shop around on their website. Go to the link in this podcast description that will take you over there and let them know that you guys came from us. And be sure you check out Trophy Edits and see everything that they have to offer. Elite Archery is a Fall Obsession podcast partner. I've been shooting elite bow for several seasons, and I could sit up here and talk to you guys all day long about how much I love my elite and how I'm just going to keep shooting it and how smooth it is and all the great stuff. I could just keep going on and on. But the test for you and the way that you are going to believe it is obviously putting the bow in your hand for yourself. So go to your local dealer, take the Elite Shootability Challenge today, compare it to other brands, compare it to what you're shooting now, and see how it stands against those competitors. The results will speak for themselves. Go check out Elite Archery. The Outdoor Call Radio app is a podcast partner. Outdoors Dan from Respect the Game TV. He created an app that you can download on any device where you can stream hunting shows and podcasts on a loop every single day. Fall Obsession podcast and the Outdoor Drive podcast with East Coast Trev and Madman Mardik. Both of our shows stream on that podcast and show loop on Mondays, the same day as our Fall Obsession new publication day, as well as tons of other hunting shows and podcasts that you all know and love throughout the week. So go download the Outdoor Call Radio app today. It is free. You can start streaming immediately. Follow Outdoors Dan and the Outdoor Call Radio on social media as well, because their live radio show broadcasts they do throughout the week, they share on those social media pages. So go check them out and go download the Outdoor Call Radio app. Last but not least, Ridge Rock Hunt Company is a podcast partner. Derek Eves is the man over there in Mississippi. And if you are looking to book a North American hunt with a vetted and trusted outfitter, then you need to give Derek a call. He'll work with you on all the details. Find something that works for you. Go check out Ridge Rock Hunt Company. Finally, thank you guys for listening to another Fall Obsession podcast. If you have not already, be sure you hit that follow or subscribe button, whatever they have up there for you on whatever platform you're listening on. We always appreciate it. Turn those notifications on. That way you get notified if that's an option whenever we drop a new episode or a new podcast. Go check out the YouTube channel. We put tons of new episodes on there every week. We have some recently, some new Midwest Mindset episodes on there. We got some Texas Third episodes coming up. And then the big one that's coming up is going to be the Idaho elk film that we have in the editing room right now. We also have some other films coming your way, from a Sitka deer hunt, a New York whitetail hunt. We got a ton of different projects that we're working on right now. We want you guys to see that stuff as soon as it comes out, and that's going to be on the YouTube channel. So go subscribe if you have not already. If you like watching the podcast videos, those are also shared on our YouTube channel. Go to fallobsession.com. That's the website. You guys can shop around on there, pick you up a hat or a shirt, support a small-time hunting brand, and as well as see all of our content and everything that we have that filters through that website. We've had, for example, a ton of recent educational articles on whitetail hunting that have been posted under our written publications section of the website. So go check those out. And be sure you take a look at our shows that are streaming on Carbon TV. This podcast streams on there, as well as our staff-inspired video podcast series, Couch Chats, and the two shows that I just mentioned, Midwest Mindset and Texas Dirt. Those are our two hunting shows that are on Carbon TV. Go check them out, see all they have to offer. We always appreciate you guys hitting that share button and getting this content out there to all your friends and hunting buddies. So be sure you do that on social media as well. With that, I'm done rambling. We're heading on over to the episode and our conversation with East Coast Trev from the Outdoor Drive podcast. You guys are listening to another Fall Obsession podcast.
Oh, you got her, dude. She's down. Let's go.
Dude, I just shot a deer of a lifetime.
Freaking smoked him.
One with nature, and if you're a believer, one with God.
Definitely gets your heart pumping. Boy, you are in trouble.
Fall Obsession Podcast.
What's happening, guys? Welcome back to another Fall Obsession podcast. I'm Sam, and I am joined by East Coast Trev from the Outdoor Drive podcast. Welcome to Fall Obsession podcast, man.
Hey, thanks for having me, Sam. I know it's been a long time coming, and I know Steve joined you before, and I'm just glad with the opportunity. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Well, thank you guys, because y'all had me on your show to start, and I know the original collaboration plan was to, have both of you guys on the show and ideally together, but as you know good and well, recording schedules and just lining personal schedules up and everything, it gets complicated sometimes. And we did our best to make it happen, but ended up getting you and Steve on here at different times. But loving every minute of it. Still glad to have you on.
Yeah, nothing worse than that, right? Well, but it's always a good thing too because now you get the best of both worlds. You get two episodes and then you get two different people, two different outlooks. So that actually is can be a good thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I feel like I owe y'all another one because y'all have given me two.
I know. We can definitely make that happen. There's no question about that. Honestly, the big thing for me is just I love podcasting with other podcasters and like-minded people
Yeah,
because the thing is like the conversation always flows. There's good conversation. And we can also talk about different things, right? Like it's not always deer tactics and this. We can talk about life. We can talk about everything across the board. I mean, I'll talk deer all you want. I'll talk whatever. I'll talk anything, fishing, whatever. But I just it genuinely I enjoy talking to other podcasters. I really
yeah.
do. They get it, they understand it, and the flow goes a little bit better, I think, honestly.
I think it does too. Very, very relatable for sure. And man, on that note, and to kind of get into everything, all the stuff you just hit on, like podcasting, deer hunting, all that. I want to hit that at some point during this podcast with you and talk about some of that and hunting seasons here. We chatted just for a moment about that before we even hit record, but like a lot of things, I want to save it for the podcast because I hate to. There's so many times, man, that I get on here with somebody and we just start chatting and everything. I'm like, man, I should have already been hitting record on this. Like, this is good, you know?
Yep. Yep.
But to take us into it, man, just for people who might have not listened to your show or anything, just introduce yourself and tell us, who you are, what you do, where you come from, all that good jazz.
Yeah, so I'm East Coast Trev. That's a self-proclaimed name. I, when I had started podcasting, oh man, it's been quite some time. Probably close to 8 years now. Maybe, yeah, about that. Um I was like, I need a name. I was hanging out with a ton of really cool killers, and they all had names, right? The modern assassin and all these other dudes that I kind of was hanging out with and going to different shows and doing things and filming with and whatnot. And I'm like, I need a name. And so I kind of came up with it, but then it was kind of given to me at the same thing, and it just kind of took. But anyways. I'm here in north in New England, the
Okay.
Northeast. So I'm from Connecticut, and how it all had kind of really started for me was I had a bow hunting forum that I was part of, and um, you know we that's how it all started, and then the forum kind of died with time. There's still some that kind of are around. The camaraderie in them is way better than any type of social media that there is because it's more of a brotherhood and stuff, and that's kind of was super important to me. And then with social media, Facebook, Instagram, those things kind of die, and there wasn't much of it. So I had met another gentleman who was like, dude, you really need a podcast, man. Like, you got, that kind of like swagger or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, all right, cool, dude. Whatever you say. I'm like, I don't even know what a podcast was. At the time, there was probably one hunting podcast, to be honest. And
Right.
I'm like, okay, I'm all set. And a couple years later, I reached back out to him because you could see the numbers just diminishing on the forum side, but I still wanted to be part of something and kind of just kind of that brotherhood and talking and spreading wealth and knowledge throughout the local area. And because I think there's a lot of things that need to be touched on or talked about or kind of brought to the front lines, the political side of it, the conservation side of it. So that's kind of where we had started East Coast bow hunting. And then that's where it ties into East Coast Trev and so on and so forth. So
Gotcha.
we did that for oh man, over 300 episodes.
Wow.
Uh, and then it kind of dwindled out. The guy that I had done the podcast with, we could do a whole nother podcast on that, but we separated our ways and we still had the listenership there. And I was like, well, we got to do something and reach out to a couple of guys and we started the outdoor drive. And that's kind of what this is. And it's not just bow hunting, it's full outdoors, it's hiking, fishing, foraging, all the things that we do as outdoorsmen and conservationists and stewards of the land. Like, it's not about always hunting deer. It's or hunting pheasant or whatever. It's, picking mushrooms and canning and, filling the freezer and that lifestyle, because that's what it is. It really is a lifestyle. It's not, it's not a hobby. It's not, I mean, it is, but it's not, right? It's something that we live, breathe, and dream for. We've done it since we were kids. I mean, there's multiple times where I take for granted the little things. We'll be like, oh, here's doe bedding over here. Well, how did you determine that? We just been around it our whole lives, and it's just something that we've been ate up in, and so we wanted to be able to turn it around and share that with everybody and just common dudes. I mean, like, bro, I ain't nobody special. I go out there, I sit in a tree stand like everybody else. I suck, and sometimes I get lucky and I shoot something. I mean, that's just the way that it goes, man. Just there's 100 trips in the woods before you're successful. There's 100 trips on the water before you're successful. There's 150 miles before you find the right scrape, or you don't see that when it comes to social media. But I'm just like everybody else. I fail. This morning I got up, dude. I got up way late. I was dry. I woke up and I'm like, oh man, get in my truck and I start driving to go hunting, and the sun's coming up, and you forget your lease at the truck or whatever the case may be, dude. And to be honest with you, I haven't done this in years, but I straight just sat on the ground. I
Yeah.
didn't even go to the stand. I got in there. The wind was right. I sat on the back of this hill, dude, and I just literally just had a great hunt. And I just sat there and just watched the squirrels and the deer and just kind of watched over the property, and it was cool, but I was late, it could have been a horrible hunt. So, just average guys, man, just sharing, our stories and trials and tribulations to be successful. I mean, that's really all it is. And, um, we, at first we were super big into videoing and tons of social media content and all that. But you know what? To be honest with you, we lost a lot of friends along the way. We had a lot of scenarios where this guy wants to join the team, this guy wants to join the team, then it turns into they don't, or they don't have the drive per se. Um, to be part of it. So we've kind of just kicked it back, and it's just a couple of buddies, man, just going out and hunting. If we get a post on social media, we get a post on social media. If we'll never miss a podcast, because that's not going to happen. But
Yeah.
no matter what it takes to pour the glue on, we're going to make that happen. But as far as social media, we might not make a YouTube video. We might not make a post. Like, it is what it is. We're not going to be hard pressed to kind of search and get for it. We're just gonna just enjoy it and bring it
Yeah.
back to the family traditions. I think that's one of the most important things, honestly.
That's awesome, man. A lot of respect for that on my end for sure. Because I feel like on the other side of it, where we're at, we have all these irons in the fire, and we've gone full send into the social media side, and there's definitely times where I'm like, man, can I go back? Can I just not worry about the camera on this hunt, or why do I have to produce a video over this? There's definitely those times. I mean, I am grateful for it, and I've talked on the show even in recent episodes just about having platforms like this, whether pick one, whether it be the videos or the podcast or any of it, and being able to have these archived, if for nothing else, just for myself and the other people that are on these shows, to go back and reflect on, or our kids to go back and kind of relive with us, that kind of stuff, that's cool. But there's value in that from that standpoint. But there's also times I'm like, man, I just want to hunt. I just want to go out there and hunt and not have to jack with anything else.
Sam, to be honest with you, man, this is how it all happened for myself and whatnot. Was I would have partners in this whole endeavor, right? And we spend a lot of money to go to shows, go to ATA, go to SHOT Show, go here, go there, do this, do that. And we're spending thousands of dollars and hundreds of dollars to just be able to put a podcast out, right? And the whole thing is, so we would have these partners, and like then it would be an argument, like we didn't do this or we didn't do that. And then, the big thing was I was traveling a ton and filming and trying to really get into the YouTube thing and videoing, and we were working with different TV places and this, that, and the other thing. And I kind of got, and I'll admit it honestly, Sam, is that I literally got this like ego over me that like I'm only gonna shoot giant bucks and I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna, you know what I'm saying? And like it literally, and I'm a pretty, strong-minded person where I'm boisterous. So when I go and we had these, these other gentlemen that were part of the group and they would get upset at me and then it would be a fight and then they would leave and then which is fine, it is what it is, but I'm willing to say that I screwed up and so did they, but I honestly did and because I thought that it was going to be the end all be all, right? And then I took a step back and I was like, you know what? Why are we doing this? Why? For what? Like, and I'm not saying this in a negative. I'm just saying this like in a whole scheme is like, why? For what? Like, we're gonna get in an argument with somebody or we're gonna lose a friendship or you're not gonna hunt with your old man as much or your little brother or whatever for what? To film? When I could just inquire that we instead of shooting a 160 we're just going to shoot 110s. But who cares? Because to be honest, we're all going to be in camp. There was a point, I would travel and we would go to deer camp and we were in Ohio and I shot an absolute monster on film. You could go and watch it on YouTube. The next year I went and I shot another big one. And then like the third year, I was there for 2 weeks and I could not get on a big deer. And I was so upset. And I'm like, I'm gonna drive halfway across the state and I'm gonna go find another one because I have another one on camera. So I'm going and I'm leaving. Well, there's four dudes in camp that I'm with. And I left them to go and try and shoot another big deer, but these guys are all part of the outdoor drive. And then I just straight ditched them because I would for what? Because I was going to go and shoot another deer because we needed to get content. And then after that it transpired and my partner ended up leaving and because we were fighting and arguing because of this, because I was being selfish and I was like, time out. Why? Why is this happening? Like why? What am I doing? Why am I doing this to myself? And you know what? It is what it is. Now we're just good old buddies. We text, we have fun, we go out, we hunt, we fish, we hang out. If we blow off a Saturday to go goose hunting, so be it. If we blow off a Saturday to go squirrel hunting with our nieces or nephews, so be it. Like it is what it is. Like who cares? We're not going to get rich and famous from this, plain and
Right.
simple. And we're just going to enjoy the outdoors like we had made to do it when we were young kids. Like that's just the greatest of it, in my opinion. Like, and we'll share the wealth. We'll have really good people on the podcast and talk about those things and our trials and our tribulations. But hopefully, someone can learn from it. And I hope that somebody doesn't make the same mistake. I hope that they do it because they want to do it and they respect everybody in those trials of trying to grow a brand for themselves. Honestly, because you can get mixed up in some craziness, dude, and it can get wild quick. And that's it's just not worth it in my opinion. I know I'm sorry, I'm getting a little
No,
emotional,
dude,
kind of
like
like going crazy, like
uh,
it's
definitely
just true.
definitely a stroll down memory lane for you and then just yeah, opening up and reflection on some stuff and I appreciate you sharing all that for sure. That's a peek behind the curtain and you're 100% right. You can't let you can't let it all fog your vision or get in the way of what it's all really about and the reason that we all truly do it. So, and you got to have no matter what you do as far as content creation or how involved you are with the channel or podcast, whatever it might be, whatever you're doing, you can't lose the sight of one, we're all hunters, we're all there to support each other, and two, it's the relationships and the memories that we build with those people when we're out there in the woods and the experiences we have. That's where individuals should find true value. It's not, I mean, it's cool to have a video or, a story on a podcast, around a trip or an experience and stuff. But at the end of the day, that's not the end all be all. That's not why we do it. So,
And I think that the podcasts and in camps and documenting these things are 100% the most important things
oh yeah,
because we're going to look back and we're able to share those memories, those hunting videos. There's not a day that goes by that I don't have a camera with me in a tree or a GoPro, or I'm always filming and I'm always documenting all of these things because there's nothing better than going through your hard drive and watching a hunt. Like
Yeah.
there's nothing better than that. Or in the off season, going and watching, with your buddies. We do a lot of stuff local too. We do a lot of turkey hunting seminars, and we do a lot of group gatherings, and we do a lot of local shows with people locally. But we do one of the things that we do is we just started Birds and Brews, and what it is it's um at a local distillery. A good friend of ours who is from Real Outdoors TV, Matt Weddish, probably he's been in this game since day one. He was like one of the first turkey hunting YouTubers, and so we started this Birds and Brews, and it's just a seminar of all of us come together. We'll talk about turkey hunting, how to get on turkey, so on and so forth here in the Northeast. But the big thing that we do is we go through all of our raw footage from the
Nice.
previous year. So it's kind of fun because all of our turkey footage, we release it at this Birds and Brews. And then if somebody else wants to add their footage, we pop their SD card in and we go through it. And mind you, there'll be 50 people there. And it's just fun. We just have cocktails, hang out, talk about turkey hunting, teach the new ones that want to learn. We go through our spiel and just hang out. And that for me is so much more fun to share that raw footage. But there's not a day that I won't go in the woods to have my cameras with me because I don't want to miss out on none of that. I don't want to miss documenting any of it. It's just them putting it up and using it for certain things that I won't do. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like,
Yeah.
or I'm not in a rush to do it like
Yeah.
I was before. So
That's a really, really cool thing. I didn't I guess I never heard of it or realized that y'all were doing that or whatnot, but that man, that's really cool. I like that idea. That's awesome.
I think that a lot of the things for me is that it's been lost, right? Like,
Yeah.
going back to the days of the forum, we would have a ton of group outings. We would have an opening day party, so the weekend before opening day, all of our locals would all get together. We'd sit by the fire, chew the fat, hang out, tell stories, get ready, just kind of like a blast off for the beginning of the year. It was the same as one of the reasons that Steve had invented Tales from the Tailgate because we had missed out on the hanging pole, and we would all be there with all the old guys going through Polaroids. Like those type of things aren't they're missed. Like there's nothing that they don't do it. Everything is all ate up in social media, and we have to bring it back to the community. Like a lot of hands-on, a lot of my friends that I've made over the years have all because we've shooken hands at shows, or we've shooken hands at seminars or group outings or whatever, and just being part of that local community, which is super important. And I think it's something that's lost with this whole social media thing because people don't do it no more. Like they get their rocks off with just watching and talking through social media. And I think there's two with that. It's a double-edged sword, to be honest with you, because and that's the great thing of podcasts. You can listen to whatever you want, right? And you can
Right.
go on YouTube and watch whatever you want. When you go to a local, say Facebook or whatever, those groups that are on there, if I was a new hunter and I was to ask a question on there, I'm going to be belittled, right? Because there's so many keyboard warriors that are trying to tell you what's right or what's wrong, right? And guys, the thing is this, the guys like me and you that listen to a ton of podcasts, and we also talk to a ton of people and ask the right questions, like certain moon phases, red moons, scrape hunting, all this stuff. We've learned this throughout the 200 or 300 and something episodes that we've done on these two platforms, right?
Mhm.
And we've learned, and then we go and when somebody asks a question about, oh, are you scrape hunting and what do you use for your scrape or whatever? And then we answer it. And then these guys that are keyboard warriors get on there and they're like, no, you're so wrong. And then I'm thinking to myself, I just did 3 1-hour podcasts on scrape hunting, but I'm wrong. What do you mean I'm wrong? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
so it's like it's frustrating, and then I just kind of throw my hands up in the air, and I'm like, all right, this is what I normally say, and I know this is kind of cocky and pompous, but I'll be like, well, anytime you want to come and sit at one of my seminars on scrape hunting, just let me know. You can come and sit down. I'll give you a free ticket, and then I
Yeah.
just leave it alone. Like it's just it's
Oh man.
it's frustrating. It's frustrating because there's a lot of new people out there that need a certain amount of attention, right? Because there's so many avenues for them to be able to go on and learn from on YouTube, on podcasts, but sometimes they just need to sit down and be and have a handshake and actually have a full-on conversation with somebody
Yeah.
because of some of the things that are going on social media.
Yeah. No,
Sorry, I went on a rant that
no, you're
means
good,
nothing,
man.
but
Rant away on this show. The from a podcast host standpoint as well, though, I feel like, you mentioned it, we talk to so many different types of people and everything on the show and everything, and have that interaction. But at the same time, I maintain, or try to maintain, I should say, an appreciation for just those, exactly what you're talking about, right? That one-on-one personal interaction, just talking hunting with people. And as a host, like, I'm always like, man, I gotta get this guy on a podcast. I wish I was recording right now. This would be awesome. I always have those thoughts. But at the same time, you have to, like, that stuff, it has its own time and place. You'll have great episodes with great people who can bring that element to your show, but at the same time, there's that value and that appreciation for just the hunting community, and just in its raw form, in its personal one-on-one form, or the brotherhood form in your local area, whatever it might be. And when you mentioned this, you briefly mentioned like recording podcasts in camp and everything. That made me think of this. You'll appreciate this as a show host, because I just had this Idaho elk hunt that I went on way in the back country. And the last evening there in camp, I told the guys, I was like, hey, I want to record a podcast with y'all, like in elk camp here around the fire. So we did
Mhm.
that. And, by now we've all gotten pretty comfortable with one another. There's a lot of jokes, a lot of cracking up and everything between everybody. And I'm thinking, man, this is gonna be a great episode. The second you hit record, myself and 3 other guys, these other 3 have never recorded a podcast in their life. They're all sitting there like statues, perfectly silent. We were laughing and cutting up, 90 seconds before. And I'm just like, man, where was the lightheartedness? Where was the joshing around and everything? Like that's what I want to capture and everything. But there's just some of it that, in my opinion, you'll never be able to capture, at least with certain crowds and stuff. But
Once you hit the record button, I feel as if like there is definitely this point if somebody has never podcasted before, they get like kind of nervous, right? And
yeah.
you hit the record button and the same thing, statue, and you're like, bro, you were just telling jokes for the past 45 minutes. What do you mean? Like you just literally just got tight-lipped because we're recording? Like just
You're like,
stop that.
uh-oh, I'm gonna have to work a little harder now.
Yeah. It's funny because so Madman when he had joined us, um, and he's been a blessing, dude. He's probably that's my best friend, hands
Yeah.
down. Like I'll call him for anything. He makes fun of me so much because life kind of takes you in these crazy avenues, and it'll be Saturday morning on a cold front, and he'll be like, "You in the woods?" I'm like, "No, bro, I'm apple picking." And he's like, "What? You're apple picking?" And I'm like, "Yes, dude, I'm apple picking." So this morning I texted him and I was like, "Hey man, are you out? Are you out in the woods?" And I'm like, "Yeah." No, he says, "Yeah." And he goes, where are you going this early in the morning?" I said, "I'm hunting." He goes, "You're not picking pumpkins to carve pumpkins this weekend," but he's he's truly one of my best friends and a godsend when it comes to the outdoor drive. I mean, he holds this thing together. Like we are a match made in heaven. I love that dude like a brother. I mean, we
Yeah.
have our ins and our outs, but we stick through it through the thick and thin. Um, but when he had started with us, he was just a listener. I mean, he was literally a listener. He would come to events. He used to shoot at the same local archery shop that I did. He needed a buck measured. We measured a buck for him, and he would always spitball ideas. Hey man, we should do this. Hey man, you should do that. Hey dude, you should do that. So we used to call him the manager. And so when everything kind of gone down and I didn't have anybody to do this with, I had asked him, I'm like, bro, you want to do a podcast? And the same thing. When he got on, he's like, uh, and didn't know what to say. And now, mind you, he's 100 and something episodes in with me, and he's a natural, right? He's an
Yeah.
absolute natural. But at first, we recorded our first podcast. We did a Tales from the Tailgate with him, and he was like, and that was his idea. He invented Tales from a Tailgate before he was even a host on the podcast. And then we had him do his own Tales from the Tailgate in his own mini series that we had started for him. And he called me the next day. He's like, "Bro, you can't release that." And I'm like, "Why?" And he's like, I didn't sound proper, I don't think. And I'm like, dude, it's a podcast. We'll just do another one. Like, I'm not deleting it. Like, it's fine, bro. And
Yeah.
he's like, really? I'm like, yeah, it's cool. And then now I can't get him to shut up half the time. Like, he just asks the right questions at the right time and does the right thing. And he's just the greatest co-host you could possibly ask for when it comes to it. But at first, bro, you hit the record button and it was like a shut off switch for him. And you're like, and I'm like, well, he'll
Man,
learn.
I feel like
Excited now.
we've all gone through that phase in some point or other. I actually told Steve when he was on here with us a few episodes ago, I mentioned how the first time I ever went on anybody else's show, mind you, this is dozens. I don't even know. We were a long way into, our
Mhm.
show. I'd recorded a ton of podcasts, but Outdoors Dan from
Oh
the
yeah.
Outdoor Call Radio, he had
Hmm.
me on his show live.
Hmm.
And I felt the same way. I was like, oh my gosh, there's no editing room, there's no nothing. Like what I say is out there as soon as I say it. So, we've all kind of been in that boat from one perspective to the other. I feel like early on in our show, we were just convinced that not enough people were listening, that we weren't too worried about it. Oh man. But
Y- if you went back to episode one, even now, mind you, I then had done 300 episodes prior, and then whatever I had done on other podcasts or
yeah.
video podcasts or whatever, and then you start at the outdoor drive number one, bro, I would honestly delete the first 25. Like
No,
they're
probably
just
the same. Yeah.
just like, and we had already done 300. So, and then we started, and then now, those first 25, I would delete them. I would literally delete them, but it shows the evolution of you as a human being and
Yep.
you as a professional, right? Like going through all of that, and you just laugh at it and you go, this is really where I came from, and this is
Yeah.
where I really am today. Like today, you normally people are like, dude, this dude needs medication. He needs to shut up. Like he talks.
Yeah. No, man, I think of it the same way. Like I go back and either with the podcast or some of our videos or our shows that, we've moved on from and now we're producing something else. I go back and watch the early episodes and stuff and I end up turning them off. It's hard for me not to hit the delete button like, man, what was I thinking? What was I doing? Or, the just from a producer's lens now, looking at the videography or the editing and stuff, I'm like, golly, this could have been done so much better. But to your point, that's growth, that's evolution, and that's a reminder for you and exactly where you came from, like you said.
And for us, it's raw, real, and
Yeah.
that's what we strive for is raw and real. I mean, it is these are the things that we do. I mean, I have tons of turkey hunts. I mean, turkey hunt because turkey hunt is easy to film, right? It's one of my favorites. I've always been a turkey hunter since I was a young kid. Eastern turkeys here in the mountains, it's just easy. And I don't say that confident. I say that confidently. I'm not saying that cocky. There's just a lot of turkeys, and turkey hunting is one of those sports that we get after. But they're easy to film, and we have a ton of them. And you look back on them and I'm like, dude, that's the worst turkey hunt I've ever filmed in my life. But it was the funnest one, and you guys will all love it. So it is what it is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, there's a film we had uh a guy come and film with us for quite some time here, cinematic filming, whatever. And I killed a turkey with my bow with a fan on the front. So I reaped this thing at 7 yards and we filmed it. It looked like we filmed it with a phone. Like it was the worst thing ever because we didn't bring in the big camera because we had to cross a swamp to get in there. We brought the little just like AX-43 in there and it looks like crap because he's so far away from me zoomed in because he didn't want to mess anything up. And but it was one of my favorite videos and it's real. There's times there's some older ones from 7, 8 years ago. I shot a Jake with my bow and I lost it, dude. I started crying right on camera, dude, because it was one of those hunts that I had been through so much in the season trying to get it done. My goal was to shoot a so I'll just to kind of wrap this all up. We can shoot at the time we could shoot 5 birds total. We could shoot 2 on public and 3 on private. So my goal was to shoot all 5 birds with a bow in one season. And I was being a little cocky and a little pompous, and I said, I'm gonna shoot them with a bow from the ground, no blind. Dude, after calling in and not being able to draw on, or you shoot and you hit a bird and you lose it, now I'm into it for like 4 birds. I should have already been tagged out on private land, and I shoot a Jake and I just lost it, bro. I'm crying. Like I'm just like the emotions just took over me and they just like seeped out of me. And it was just the most raw hunt I've ever filmed. And it
Yeah.
was real. You know what I'm saying? And it really meant something to me. And I watch those hunts all the time. To kind of just take you back. You did all this like, this crazy cinematic. You got a GoPro over here. So when they come in, then you cut to this and it's me drawn back behind a tree. It's stupid, but it's great film. It really is great film.
Yeah. Now I have a few select films or podcasts or whatever that I go back and relive. My mule deer hunt from last year was a big one, and we put a film together on that. I've watched that a handful of times since we released it last year. Just
Mhm.
remembering that, and I don't really go back and listen to uh our podcasts, like my own podcast, just as a listener, because, and I sit there and record it, and then it's in the editing room, and then I'm putting out the video version, and then I'm clicking through it to find, okay, what am I going to cut out of this for social media reels and that kind of stuff. So by the time I'm done with all that, I feel like I got a good grasp on the conversation, right? So I'm not going to click play, and then my mind is already several episodes ahead in my schedule as far as, okay, what's coming next down the pipe. That even though that episode just dropped, that's old news to me. I'm thinking
Right.
ahead, right? So, but my mule deer hunt, and we have 3 episodes of our podcast that were recorded around that adventure and that experience, and I have gone back and listened to those multiple times, recording in camp with the guys that you're with. And I feel like I'm there again, just listening to me. Like we recorded an episode 7 hours after I shot that mule deer buck. Like everything is fresh on everybody's mind, and you can feel it when you listen to that podcast. I've listened to that episode several times, man, just because I'm like, man, it was such an awesome experience. I'm like, this is so cool. And I imagine with this elk hunt I just went on, because I'm editing a film for it right now, it'll probably be the same way. But those experiences, that's pretty cool to get to go back and relive those significant moments in your life for sure.
I think that they're super cool also to like if you have friends or family or guys sitting in camp and you're all just chit-chatting or whatever. I always have a laptop with me and we always just go through and watch old YouTube videos, of old hunts and we talk about them and the same thing, listen to old podcasts. I mean, it's just fun. And I honestly I would, you know I would push anybody to go and do it. Anybody go and film.
Yeah.
It is so cool to go back and watch those memories. My girlfriend, not a hunter at all, but this year she she went and got her hunting license and she wanted a turkey hunt because she just saw the passion in the turkey hunting. We went to NWTF, never been around it. Um, went sighted in the gun. We shot some trap, some skeet, did some paper shooting, and I brought her up to the next day to Rhode Island because you can hunt on Sundays. So we would go up there on Sundays and hunt and called in a turkey. We filmed it. She ended up shooting. It was a little bit too far. I told her to shoot anyways. It was like 40 yards and we were using TSS. I mean, it could have rolled the bird, no problem. Just a little bit too far, a little bit out of her comfort zone. The bird had locked up, but I filmed the whole entire thing and to go through those pieces and those memories that you share with that person, it's just awesome. It's the same as when I hunt with Stevie. There's probably, there's a ton of hunts that we've hunted together and sharing those hunts and watching them, or have other friends that come out of state and I'm always filming. And during turkey season, I barely ever pull the trigger unless I'm self hunting. If I'm hunting with somebody else, I'm filming because to share those memories and to share them, I try like my dad on opening day. Ever since this had, the stuff that we were talking about before, I try to hunt with my dad as much as I possibly can. Every opening day deer season now, every turkey season, because there was 4 or 5 years I didn't even hunt with my old man. I
Mm.
didn't go hunting with my dad. I didn't hunt with my little brother on our family farm. Like we just didn't do it. And because I was so ate up and trying to chase big deer and chase turkeys for myself and film content and take pictures and so on and so forth. I'll tell you right now, I just came home uh from my dad's house and we was in the side yard all afternoon shooting bows and crossbows and I took out the longbow and the recurve and they ain't never shot a recurve or a longbow ever in their lives and we were shooting them had competitions at 50 yards trying to shoot the target, me and my little brother. And my nephew who's 5 years old, he I bought a recurve for them and my niece she's 10, and we literally were in the whole in the side yard the whole entire afternoon shooting bows. Like it's something to be said for that and to share those memories with everybody and go hunting on opening day and go and hunt with them on the weekends and spend that time with them. Like it's an absolute blast. And then to film it and share it, we be at Christmas or Thanksgiving and we going through old films and those films that we did together, like that that's what it's all about.
Mhm.
And it really, to have that on this hard drive right here and to watch those any time of the day, man, when you're down or when you got things going on in your life and you just sit in the editing room and just watch those films. Bro, there's nothing like it. I mean,
Yeah.
there's really nothing like it. And it really it keeps you grounded. It
Yeah.
really honestly keeps you grounded. I mean, I don't mean to be like so like I'm normally a very happy-go-lucky person, and I really am. I don't mean to be so sentimental, but those things like truly mean a lot to me now. A lot more than they ever did. I don't care if I hang another deer on the wall. I really don't. But to share those memories with them, me and my old man, we shot opening day of turkey season this year. I hadn't hunted with my dad. Um uh so my dad brought me when I was a young boy to Maine because you could hunt a lot younger. 21 years later, I went back to Maine and I shot another bird. My dad wasn't with me. We went up to Maine, me and Steve, and it was 21 turkey seasons later. I killed another bird in Maine. And it was one of those things that kind of like set me back, right? So the next opening day, the next couple weeks was opening day down here. And I hunted with my dad. And it had been 21 turkey seasons since I had called in a bird with my father. My father had called in a bird for me, and I called the bird in and we filmed the thing. And it was just, it didn't mean anything to him because he didn't really realize it, but it meant a lot to me, a
Yeah.
lot. And to have that film and I don't care if I ever kill another turkey with my own man ever again. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just, and to have it, it's all documented. Like it's
Yeah.
just, it's crazy. It's one of those things, guys that, why do you always bring that camera? Why are you always filming everything? Because you can't make those memories. You
Hmm.
can't refilm those. Like it just doesn't happen, you know? So you
Yeah.
have to always get them on film the first time.
No, so, some people don't realize that, and even like this elk hunt I just went on, I told those guys like, hey, it might feel weird, but like camera's gonna be going the whole time because I want to capture this experience for all of us, and I want to share it and everything. And man, those guys, I'll give them all the credit. They jumped on board pretty quick, and they started filming everything, just even if it was just with their cell phones. They were capturing footage. Like, hey, if you can use it, use it. If not, don't. And like, hey, man, that's awesome. But man, you got to be sentimental with it to a point because like I have a relatively, I feel like, a similar experience because like I grew up as a kid hunting with my dad and everything, and then pretty much as soon as I became a teenager with a driver's license, right, and could go out there whenever I wanted to, it
Mhm.
was like I was hunting by myself all the time. And it wasn't until years later that I got to hunt with my dad again. Our family, like we actually got him. It's a long story, but there was a long period of time where we didn't have access to a place to hunt or anything like that.
Mhm.
So the family like chipped in, and it wasn't like the crazy stupid whitetails or anything like that, but it was a hunt with a semi-guided hunt, in this place in Central Texas and everything. And that was the first time in years that I actually got to go and hunt with them and sit in a blind with them and everything. I filmed everything, and he shot a stud of a buck on that hunt, which was even better. But that's when it kind of reconnected with me, and I was like, man, I need to spend more time doing this, and need to value this time a little bit more. And then fast forward to today, this is now year number 4 consecutive that we've been back on the same hunting land together. That's the same place that we produce our Texas Dirt series on and everything. And yeah, I film everything out there. We produce a show out there, but I'm hunting with my dad again. I'm sharing deer camp with my dad again, and everything. And I think about it, it's like, well, this won't be forever. And right now it's a really exciting time for me, a really unique period because my son this year is just now old enough to actually start getting excited about it and wanting to go. So now it's like, okay, now we got 3 generations going out
Mhm.
there at the same time together. So this is even better. So I can relate in my own unique way to that, I feel like.
It's crazy, honestly, because it's the same thing here. Like we have our family dirt that we've been hunting forever, and my dad, on that property, not a very big property, couple stands. My dad has his one tree stand. He goes to the same tree stand no matter what the wind is. It doesn't matter any day of the week. You know what I'm saying? Kills plenty of deer. I mean, it's not a question by any means. But I got sick and tired of going to that same stand on any given wind. We didn't care if it was cold, you just added 2 layers, whatever the case may be,
Yep.
right? You didn't care about the wind. And then I got into mobile hunting. And I would like once in a while, I'd go and hunt the family farm or whatever. They would call and I'd come and drag deer, right? And then because I was mobile hunting and I'm hunting winds and I'm hunting downsides of bedding and scrapes and this, that, and the other thing. And then I would go and hunt with these guys. Now I go hunt there all the time now because I don't care.
Yeah.
It can't I have to kind of wind it back though because I can't get upset because I'm like, oh, the wind, it's northwest right into the bedding. But I don't it is what it is. If I see a deer, good. If I shoot a deer, great. If I don't really care. I'm out there hunting with those guys. But my dad shot a nice animal the other day. And he called. It's Thursday. We were about to record a podcast. Of course, I don't hunt on Thursdays because we record podcasts on Thursdays. And I get a text message and a bloody arrow. And I'm like, no, you didn't. And he's like, yeah. I'm like, how's the blood? He's like, real good. I'm like, how good? How long ago did you shoot it? He's like 15 minutes ago. I go back down to the truck. I'm on my way. So I show up there. My dad's there with his best friend. And then my brother shows up 15 or 20 minutes later. We go up there, we get the deer, and we drag it back down. I said, all right, I gotta go, guys. We're going to podcast. I'll see you later. But I went there and he texted me, hey, thanks for helping me come drag deer. I'm like, what am I gonna do? Leave you out there on your own? Like, this is what it's all about. And my nephew was there. We took pictures, all of us. It's just you can't change that, dude. You'll never get that back, and I'll never
Yeah.
miss, like it's fun. He was the one that taught me everything that I know, and and it's just what we do. It's in our blood, man. And we
Yeah.
just have to stick with it and share those memories. And now you have your little one that's gonna go and hunt with you. And, hopefully he never loses sight of hunting with dad, like it's
Yeah.
just it's what it's all about, man. The great outdoors, there's really nothing better than spending it with other people. Like we kind of, deer hunting is a one man sport, right? Because you kind of get ate up in what you're doing. But there's still times, we would pheasant hunt every Saturday morning. I mean, it was just what it was all about. We go squirrel hunting, we go rabbit hunting, we go whatever, and everybody was together and laughing and joking and telling jokes and killing things and filling freezers and grills and whatever else. But that's really what it's all about. And when you lose sight of that, it's really not worth it no more. I promise you, there's nothing on that side that's good.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more, man. It's funny. My dad and I joke about it because, looking back at when I was a kid and everything, of course, like he would take me hunting. He would drop me off at my stand in the Jeep. He would cook, he would set up camp. He would do all these things. And now it's like the roles have flip-flopped, he's in his late 60s and it's like, well, now I'm the one that drops him off at his stand. I cook breakfast back at camp, and I do all these things. It was funny. There was a hunt last year, that me and my son were on our way out there and we had gotten delayed or something. So our plan was to be there in time for the evening hunt, but we got delayed. So we weren't even going to be there till like right at dark. But my dad got out there in time to go hunt. And that evening we're 5 minutes from camp and he texts me. He's like, yeah, I shot a doe and it's almost dark. It's like, all right, well, we'll drop our stuff at the camper real quick and then we'll drive down there and help you out. So we did that, and by the time we got down there, he had found the doe and kind of dragged her back to another area, a more open area, I should say. He's like, yeah, he met me at the road. He's like, I dragged her out, but you can help me gut her and drag her up to the truck. That'd be great. Sure. So we walk out there and I go out there and I gut her out real quick and everything. And, I'm doing all the cutting. Back in the day, he would do all the cutting and I would hold the leg. Now he's holding the leg and I'm doing all the cutting. And he looks at me, he's like, where'd you learn to do this so fast? I said, from you. You're the one that taught me. But it's funny because everything comes full circle, and yeah, wouldn't trade it for the world for sure. But
No, it's not.
well,
It's not worth trading it for the world.
no, not at all. Well, I want to talk a little bit of hunting with you before we run out of time for our podcast and everything
Mhm.
because it is November at the time that this podcast is coming out. We're recording late October. By the time it'll probably be November before we release. But
Yeah.
um, what's it looking like in the Northeast? Because when I talked to Steve, he gave me some insight just into some unique characteristics about the like geographically where you guys hunt and everything like that and stuff. But man, it's getting down to that time where guys are getting really excited for deer season and everything and what it has to offer. What are things looking like in your neck of the woods right now?
So, I mean, obviously things are starting to heat up. And we're starting to see that chasing. The scrapes are starting to open up, and we're big time scrape hunters. That's the way. When you're hunting big woods, you're looking for you know pinch points, rut funnels, stuff like that you would in other big woods. But scrapes are super huge. And we hunt the living daylights out of them. And now it's starting to get into those rut funnels and finding that sign there. The big thing right now, honestly, is we have a bumper crop of acorns and it makes it hard.
Yeah.
Like early season is tough. If you're not on that food source, you are not seeing deer and you could see the switch. Like when you're on them and then they eat them all out and they're going to a different one. Now you got to go above and beyond to try and find them again. But it's about to get ugly here where those all day sits start to happen this last week of October, first week of November, and those bucks are starting to daylight and kind of get things going. It's right around the corner, man. This is those cold fronts in the end of October, beginning of November. It's about to get stupid.
Oh yeah.
We're already starting to see the chasing of does. There's already snow up north. Like it's
Wow.
Yeah, so it's starting to get there, and everything's really heating up. You're starting to get daylight pictures of good bucks.
Yep.
Um, so it's only a matter of time here where the top's about to blow off. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Like melting into a tree for 12 hours. Like it's
Let's
gonna be
go.
yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm excited too. We're still hot down here, man. Like it's still I went out and made sure that the camper and camp were all ready to go for November and everything last week, and got a couple sits in and everything, but it's like it was still highs in the high 80s up to 90 last week and all the way through
Okay.
Wednesday this week, and I'm like, golly, it's late October. When's this gonna break? But man, Thursday's the day for me. I know it. If you're listening to the podcast later on, it doesn't mean anything, but Thursday's the day for me because the cold front hits, a little bit of rain, and yeah, I think
What's a
that's
cold front?
high around 70, lows in the low 50s. So I'm for Texas, man, I'm like this is it because right now
That's it.
we're yeah, right now we're 10 to 15 degrees hotter on both ends than that right now. I've been watching my bucks like a hawk on my cameras and everything, and they're just now starting to turn. I got a couple that have been like borderline shooters, like probably going to pass on them that have started hitting the daylight. My my top two target bucks have been in 100% nocturnal this whole time. And our production director here at Fall Obsession, Nick, he and his dad hunt out at the same place that me and my dad do. And he sent me a picture this morning, actually. I have a stand that's 300 yards from camp because my dad and I were like, every time we leave camp to go hunt, we always see deer. So my
Hmm.
dad went and scouted, like just went walking through the woods from camp one day. He's like, I found a spot, and it's a quick stroll from camp. Like you can, if you're slammed the camper door too hard, you can hear it from the tree stand. Like it's close, and it's covered up with deer. There are deer there all the time, and I have this stud 8 point that's been like regularly almost every night in this stand. So I've been watching him. I'm like, okay, I can either shoot him or I got this other stud 8 point on the south side I could shoot. Like I'm watching both these bucks, and this morning Nick sends me a trail cam video from his stand that's right down the road of that 8 point at like 10:30 in the morning, just strolling through. I'm like, well, he's
Hmm.
now I gotta start paying attention to some other stands because he's shifting his pattern up. He's changing his routine and changing where he goes. So getting ready to play that cat and mouse game with some of these bucks because you know I'm all about hunting, and we do this to fill the freezer and everything, but we're on this property long term, and I am also trying to be somewhat smart, and I want to kill a mature deer with my bow. I don't just want to shoot a young buck just to for the sake of shooting a buck. I don't call it trophy hunting, but I'm trying to be management minded with this property that we're working with. But
And I'm in agreement with you. Like I'm a huge, advocate for hunting mature animals. Like you know what I'm saying? Like I don't go out of my way to shoot a young deer. I mean, if it's November 20th and things have gone weird throughout rut, I mean, anything's about to happen. But
right,
I mean, I'm down to kill a deer. But hunting mature deer, I'm still a big mature deer hunter. Like constantly looking for big mature bucks and following and chasing big bucks. I mean, I have two shooters that I've been watching all summer long, and I had them dead to rights early season, dude. They were on camera all the time. I'm like, yeah, all right, I'll get them all in light first, the first couple weeks of season, and then they disappeared. I
yep.
haven't seen them in weeks. And the thing is, you go in there and you hunt that property, and they're still on the downwind. They're in there somewhere. They didn't go anywhere. They're just not hitting those scrapes or whatever. And then they come cruising through at 9:30 yesterday morning, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I was like, I'm not gonna go there tomorrow. Like, 9:30, one of them shows up on one of the scrapes, and you're like, oh, that's pain. That's pain. That's
That
real pain.
that's the curse of the cell cams, man. Your bad decisions are known. way sooner. You're like, oh man, I don't know which stand I'm going to sit in, and you're sitting in one, and the other one's telling you that you made the wrong choice, like while you're in a freaking deer stand. Sometimes, like, oh my gosh, it
It's
it messes
pain.
with me.
It's pain. But it's the thing too right now is it's gonna get super crazy. I mean, it's 35 at night, 50 during the day.
Oh, that
Like,
sounds amazing.
any dude, and it's about to get even better. Like, we're about to have even a 10-degree change,
Wow.
where it's gonna start to get a little bit colder. So I took off the fifth, sixth, seventh, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth. So that's kind of like my mini rut vacation. I've never and let me hit on this for a second. I've never had to take time off from work because I was a professional fisherman in the summer and didn't have to work in the winter. I took a normal 9 to 5 job, and now I have to take time off to go hunting. Nothing worse than having to pick a week in deer season that you want to make your rut vacation. I feel for all of you people now because I didn't before and now I have feel for you. When you have to look at a calendar and go, okay, I'm going to take off the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th of November, and then I'm going to take 3 days off for gun season. It's the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life. I'm not going to lie to you. Like that's a tough thing. And now this is the whole thing. They're calling for rain for 2 of those days that I took off already.
Mm.
And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. I literally took those days off and now it's gonna rain. What do I do? You just
Yeah.
go hunt, I guess. Like it's just I
Just
don't
sit
like
there and soak.
it makes me
It's
so upset.
it's tough.
Makes me so upset. Like I never had to do that before. I never, I would just I'd hunt whenever I wanted. I'd hunt every day. And then if it rained, it just wouldn't hunt. And now I have to. And it's like I'm I'm gonna eat crow this year. I feel like I just feel like eat crow, man. I just
I sure hope not, man.
no,
No,
no.
I get it. I'm blessed for sure because I'm a firefighter and we work long days, but we also get long stints off. So like I go to work tomorrow, for example, and I'm there for 48 hours. Like I don't leave the firehouse for 48 hours, but then I'm off for 4 days. So, basically every time leave work, it's like a 4 day weekend. So I can go hunt and do other stuff. But I am this year, I'm like, oh man, come on, because I also I'm one of our instructors for our department for like training, and I'm a part of our training division and all that kind of stuff. And we have live burns a couple times a year for training and that kind of thing. And every shift, every crew has to go through them and all that kind of stuff. And they scheduled our live burns that I'm instructing at the first week in November. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like I also like I'm off for 4 days at a time, but I still took off my normal days, like for the first couple weeks in November, so that I could have this big window, and then one of them gets slammed with the live burns. So I'm like, oh man, that kind of throws a wrench in some stuff. But
Does your rut start later, or is
man,
it around the same time?
it it is it's like those first couple weeks in November
Oh, it's the same.
is yeah, it's about the same. Like right now, our bucks, some of their patterns are already mixing up. We've already gotten a couple pics and videos of, they're not chasing hard or anything, but they're starting to show some interest in some does and everything on camera from what we're seeing. So yeah, it's probably that first, that's why I think when this cold front, quote unquote, for Texas, that
Yeah.
is when it hits on Thursday, that's why I think I want to be out there because we might start seeing some change and some activity. They might get a little friskier, and then I think the week or two that follow that is when we're going to see our full send rut. I think last year it was like around November. They were chasing it, and they chase at night.
Right.
Just you see them during the day, obviously when they're chasing, but they chase at night too. And so we kept watching and watching last year, like when's the bottom gonna fall out? When are there just gonna be bucks everywhere running around? And we always felt like we were right there and never were. And then all of a sudden it was like it turned off. And it turned off like November 16, 17, I feel like is when that switch flipped and it was just dead. So that's that's kind of where the tail end of it. And then kind of end of November, early December, you might get a light second rut or something like that hit down here, but that's traditionally what we normally see.
So that's virtually around the same type of thing that we see. It kind of depending, like you said, nocturnal chasing and stuff. If it's super hot, like you'll see that where it kind of I've been on trips before where it's been hot, it's the first week in November and it's 75, 80 degrees. Um and just a lot of night activity where they're not super active during the day. They're still doing it, cruising, so on and so forth. They're still going to do their thing, right? But not to the degree if it was 40 degrees outside during the middle of the day, right? And then the trickle rut, that's one of my favorites when towards the end, that second rut when them young ones start to come into heat, that late season, muzzleloader, snow on the ground. Oh,
Hmm.
forget it. It's lights out. I mean, you're tracking in the snow, following tracks, and they're chasing each other around. I mean, it's just that's when you see a lot of big deer get shot in that December 5th to the 15th.
Yeah.
There's always a handful of real big deer that get shot. Then the mature deer chasing around them young ones, and them young ones are naive, and they just put the big ones right in your lap. But that same thing here.
Yeah.
Um, that the teens of November, they're always our favorite because you
Yeah.
never know what's gonna happen. You just got to be in the stand. I tell everybody, even if you get up late, you still get in the stand at 8:30 in the morning, sit there till dark. You'll see a deer. I can guarantee that. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
it's just you just got to be there. The more time you spend in, you just got to be there more than everybody else, and you'll find the right deer.
Oh yeah. No, I think there's something to be said about, late morning even being, especially during the rut, there being something happening there. I know we had a hammer of a buck last year that we were trying to kill, we wanted to kill, and he was like bouncing in a triangle between three stands, and it was every other day like he was showing up at multiple of those stands at the same day. Like me and Nick were looking at it like, man, we got this dude. Like it's only a matter of time before one of us is sitting in there. And he was a hammer dude. He was 100, easily 160-inch deer, 10-point bladed G2s. Like this dude was a stud. And I had him coming to that stand that's right next to camp. I had him coming there at 9:30 in the morning multiple times. And I'm like, dude, this deer is dead. And then rut hits, he's gone. Never came back after that. And
Did he
I
come
was
back late season? Did you see him again
no,
late season? No.
the last pick we had of him was like November. It was before November 10th. Like I have to look, but it was like November 6th or 7th or something like that. Last pick we had of him, and then
Did he
nothing.
show up this year?
Nope, he gone. So
Really?
somebody killed him a really nice buck. That
Really?
wasn't us. But
Oh,
I mean, but I bring that up just like absolute hammer of a deer, 9:30 in the morning, like just cruising,
we
cruising.
we we say that here a ton where those 10 to 2, man, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. like it's a witching hour, to be honest with you. Like it's almost like that last hour of light, but where it's so important, like 10 to 2. And I don't know if it's my personal opinion on it, honestly, is I think that the does are out feeding, they go to bed, and then those mature bucks are running from bedding to bedding to bedding, knowing that those does are in bed at that
Hmm.
time, that they're not on those feet. So they're cruising from bedding to bedding to bedding, and they're waiting for the does to be bedded down. But that 10 to 2 time, man, so many giant mature bucks get shot between 10 to 2 here in the
Yeah.
Northeast. No questions asked because and I don't know if it's because they're also patterning the hunters and a lot of people leave at that time. But I really honestly think that it's because the does are in bed and then bucks are just cruising from bedding to bedding to bedding. And you see, you get towards those 10, 12. The 11th is always one of those days, right? Veterans Day. And I think me and Steve were talking about the other day. It's because a lot of people, it's a known day for the rut here, because everybody has Veterans Day off. So there's more people in the woods, so it's a good day, right? But
Yeah.
those days, those where you get a lot of those satellite bucks that sneak in, checking those beddings. after they've done what they had to do in other areas, and then they show up here. There was a good friend of ours here. He shot a 186 buck, and same thing. Never seen the deer. Came downside of a bedding, cruising in 1:30 in the afternoon, bro. And he had been there all day, and this buck showed up, and he ended up shooting this buck, and just absolute toad.
Golly.
But the thing too is they know these bedding grounds. They know where these deer are religiously every single year, and when these deer come in, when these does come into heat. So they're gonna go to those areas and sneak in there. You just may never have been there, or you never got him on camera. Don't mean that he don't come by, because he's gonna
Mhm.
show up. He's going into those areas for a reason. And he knows where those does are and when they come into heat. So
Yeah.
you just got to be there, and it's just those it's tough, because this is when your girlfriend or your wife gets mad at you because you're there all damn day, and you come home, you don't want to do nothing, and you're back up 4 in the morning, you're sitting in the tree. I mean, these are the dog days.
Yeah.
Here,
That's when
here are
you're
the
putting
dog
in the work
days.
for sure. Yeah.
Oh,
Now my dad's self-employed, so he makes his own schedule. So and his work is relatively seasonal. So wintertime he's a lot slower. So he'll spend a lot of time out there, way more time than I do in the woods. So I'm hopeful that he sees something nice this year. It's funny, it was a couple years ago. We went out there, hunted like 3 or 4 days together, left, came back home. Next day I had to go back to work. I'm at the fire station next day after we get home, and he's like, well, he sent me a text. I'm self-employed, so I'm going back out there. And he packed up and went back out there for several days, and I'm sure he killed something. He normally fills some tags. So, but man, I know we're getting close, and I feel like we could sit on here and, and talk about hunting and everything for hours. That's normally how it goes, it seems, which is awesome. But I got a couple questions I want to ask you real quick, just in closing before we wrap it up. This first one is, tell us about one of your favorite hunting memories you have to date.
um, oh man, that's a toughie, to be honest with you. Um, so one of my favorite hunting stories is actually the buck above me. This deer I shot in Ohio. I don't can I see, is he still up there? Oh yeah, there he is.
There we go.
He's a cool buck. Um, Real high and tight, real cool deer. It was the first deer I'd ever seen that snort wheezed at me.
Mm.
Um, it was super cool. So I was on this river bottom. Had scouted down there. There's a couple of big scrapes down in there. Last week in October, and I went in there, and it was actually, we were on a trip. It was a warm front, and finally temps had broke, and then it was time to sit all day. And I had sat the night before, didn't see any deer, maybe one small buck, a couple of does. um so I left my set in there, and on public land, that's Russian roulette, because if you don't get there, you're not the first one there, someone could be set up next to you. So it's either you going in, and all of your gear's there. Mind you, my camera arm's there, my saddle. I mean, everything's in the tree. I mean, I don't even have my bow. 9 times out of 10, I just leave it in the tree. It is
Wow.
what it is, right? I'm going to the tree. So I get up in there and I sit all day long. And right before last light, I see him cruising, and I hit him with the grunt tube, and he stops and he locks up, and he's just looking around. And at this point now, like, adrenaline's starting to go, but I'm on a scrape line. So I know if I get a little aggressive with him, hopefully he's coming in.
Right.
And so he's sitting there, and dude, it felt like eternity, absolute eternity. And then he comes out of it, and he's just ball fire, and he's ears pinned back, and he's just, and then he scrapes on a tree, messes it all up. I have a scrape 23 yards in front of me. He comes into the scrape, he's making a scrape, quarter into me. I'm gonna try and slip it in. uh front the front left shoulder, and he's kind of face towards me. I'm gonna slip it right in there. I go to release the arrow. He drops and turns just a little bit. I hit him a little bit far back. I see the arrow right into him, and he takes off, and I'm like, go down, go down, go down, go down, go down. Because I know it's a smoker shot, like dead to rights. I'm like, he's dead, dead. And I had hit him a little bit further back after reviewing footage. So I'm out there with a really good friend of mine, a kid that I had grown up with. His name is also Steve. He's one of my best friends. He's like a little brother to me. He come out to Ohio, and hunted with me the year before, and I had set him up in one of my best spots, and because he had never been out there before. And I just said to him, I said, sit in the tree, bro. Just sit here. Just this is the tree. Just sit here all day. And then by like the second day, he's like, dude, I can't sit here no more. I didn't see no deer. I said, because you're in the right spot. Just stay right there. I promise you. 2 hours later, he ends up smoking a corker. And anyways, so fast forward, we go back the next year, and I shoot this deer. So I call him. I'm like, hey, I just shot a good buck. I says, I don't know how good the shot is. I said, come and pick me up. He's like, dude, I'm still hunting. I'm like, all right, pick me up at dark. So we get back to the trailer, and we're sitting there, and I'm looking through the footage, and I'm like, dude, I don't know. It's way worse than I thought it was. So I hit him just probably what would be a couple inches back, but now mind you, it's right behind the shoulder a little bit now, more instead of in front of the shoulder. Now it's back. So had hit liver, and I'm like, well, I guess I can't go back until the morning. So we get back in there, and it just absolutely opens up. And I went about 150 yards, first bed. He's laying at the top of the hill, looking back down the bed. Thank God that we didn't go in after him. He's sitting at the top of the hill, and he had bedded down on top of the hill, looking back down on the hill. So if we were to come up the hill, we would have jumped him that night. So it's super thankful that we didn't. And he was dead in the first bed.
Wow.
But it was just fun because I was able to share that hunt with a really good friend of mine, and it's just an absolute awesome deer. He was super cool. And that was that humbling moment where I had killed a couple of big deer there, and I had ate pie and an empty tag the year
Mm.
before. Um, and I said the first 125 or better that walks by, and it just happens to be him. And it was just a super cool hunt, dude. You just drive home, and that thing is in the bed of the truck, and you're just like, this is awesome. This is
Yeah,
so surreal. This is so cool, and it's just fun to go there and hunt out of state, and never been on a piece of ground and find deer and be able to kill them. But it's a memory that will last forever for sure. It's definitely
that's
super cool.
that's awesome, man. Very cool. Next question I got for you. The bucket list. What's on it that you would consider a once in a lifetime hunt if you got to do it?
So once in a lifetime hunt, honestly, 100%. Um, I don't know. I've done a couple of cool hunts that I've wanted to do, not been successful, but I've done them. Um, but to be honest with you, would be a Western turkey, a
Wow.
Rio or a Merriam, just to be in the mountains and chase turkeys. That would be a number one bucket list for me. I love turkey hunting. Turkey hunting by far is the art of it, the calling, the interacting, really getting down nitty gritty and the chess matching and calling, and that for me is more than anything. Um, and secondly would be a moose. I mean, moose hunting here in the Northeast is one of the biggest things, right? We put in every year, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. I moose shed hunt all the time. And to go and kill a moose would probably be it's number two on my list, like for
Yeah,
big game. If I was to ever chase one, or a big game, I think over elk, I think moose would be the number one big game. But the number one hunt would definitely be a Western bird for sure.
that's
Absolutely.
awesome. You're
Yeah.
the first guy on the show to put a turkey up there at the top to be chasing a bird. And man, rightfully so. That would be an awesome trip for sure.
Turkey hunting is one of those things, right? Like turkey hunting, to me, the art of it, the sport, the tradition part of turkey hunting, it means so much to me. Like I live, breathe, and dream turkey hunting. I'll
Yeah.
take if you said to me if your question was if you could only hunt one thing for the rest of your life, what would it be? It would be turkeys. I love turkey hunting. I love the camaraderie in turkey camp. I love the chess match. I love calling turkeys, them gobbling, working them hard, like going out day in and day out and getting your ass kicked. That's what it is for me. When you lose on a turkey hunt one day, it's always another chess match the next day. Like if
Yeah.
he gets you, it's a win, dude. It's an
Yeah.
absolute win to me because next day you might win. It's just the way that it goes. But calling them, I got into trumpet calling and all that. Like it don't get no better than that. It don't. I'm sorry. There's I'd take a turkey over a 150 any day in my book. I'm telling you right now. Like
That's awesome, man. That's good stuff.
Yep. Yep.
Well, last question for you, and then we'll wrap it up and send it home. And I threw this one at Steve. I'm gonna
I
do
know
the
you're
same
gonna
to
do
you.
it. I was
Yep,
I
I'm
was
gonna throw it
waiting.
right back at you. You do this to everybody on your show. What drives you outdoors?
Man, what drives me is the friendships and the camaraderie. The good people, the ups, the highs, the lows, um, just spending time with good people, and sharing this dream that we've all have made. Um, that for me is what drives me, dude. And to be honest with you, when listeners reach out and have a conversation or they send a picture or they ask a question or whatever the case may be, that's what keeps me going every single day. That's what keeps me keeping this business alive. This is what makes me wake up every day is just sharing that camaraderie. When somebody reaches out and has a conversation with me, it's just like sharing a deer camp with them, like asking a question or sharing a memory, or they killed a big buck and they sent a picture. Like that's what keeps me drive. Because there's nothing more than I want than to hear a story. I don't care if it's a spike horn and you absolutely enjoyed it, or you caught your first trout, or you went on a trip because we inspired you because we went on a trip. Like that for me is what honestly drives me and keeps me going every single day. I mean, there's nothing better than it.
Yeah, on point, man. Couldn't have said it better. That's good stuff. Well, like I said, man, I feel like we could sit here and talk hunting all night long, but at some point we do have to hang it up and save anything else for another time. But I appreciate you coming on the show, taking some time out of your evening to record, and hope you have a good and successful hunting season coming up. It's gonna be a good one.
Sam, before you cut it loose, man, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to be able to come on your platform
Yeah.
and talk. It's been absolutely awesome. I look forward to our friendship in the near future. If you ever find your way up here, man, I hope that we can get together, have a beer, and tell some stories or even kill a deer.
Yeah.
But I can't thank you enough, and I'm glad that you were able to come on our platform. You gave me and Steve a platform to come over and just have a chit chat. I know your listeners are going to be like, this crazy Northeast boy, he don't stop talking about some nonsense. He's all over the place, but it is what it is. But thanks again, man. Really appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you guys, and just like we've hit multiple times on this talking about relationships and everything, I I greatly value you and Steve and y'all's friendship with us and everything, and this collaboration and us making just these few podcast episodes happen. I feel like that's what's coming from it is a friendship that'll last for a long time, and I look forward to it. The same offer goes if you're ever down here in the Lone Star State, man, hit me up and we'll go. I don't care if it's 112 degrees outside. We'll go shoot some pigs or do something. I've done that before with a guy, so we can make it happen.
Don't
But
tempt me. I'll take a plane ride tomorrow, Sam. So
let's do it. All right,
mm.
man. Well, thank you very much. We're gonna hang it up for our listeners. Appreciate y'all tuning in. I'll be back with you guys again next week for another podcast. Talk to you then.